Following on from this dream, I had another of a similar person mimicking nature. On this occasion I couldn't see, though had the impression of being amongst new friends, and we were all in communication with Dwayne. I was asking him questions about this and that, and such, and so forth. And a little like the dream earlier, where the controllers can mimic up to a point, maybe up to a certain life level their awareness will permit them, but that which can be recognized by one able to stand with the ears and see all creation and all life levels and vehicles, and so any hint of deception can be recognized. For here again the mimicry was very good, so perhaps one of their better minions. For as I was speaking with Dwayne, the impressions I received were that something was off. He was speaking the words, but they had no life to them. They were not infused with the vibrancy, the aliveness of the true reality. And then I saw further through the smoke screen. His voice began to change also. It became a female voice. So the filters of deception reached so far before the impostor was revealed. It's very possible the deceiver was Joni, or maybe a female of a fair degree of doppelganger mimicking acumen. For where I was, I could not see the new friends or Dwayne, just the impressions of them. So all I can say here is be aware that some of these controllers do seem to have some remarkable abilities and very clever mimicking skills, but that as clever as they are self-limited, and if one stands real with the ears, their deceptions and smoke screens are exposed. So I guess you could call this a heads up. Watch out for those pesky dark forces. Dwayne provides a view. creation is what it is, and it's not what we think it is, from the personal view. That's very, very limited. These experiences are great examples of learning to be more objective about things and taking on the idea of the karma idea. Paul did this too. He did things intentionally to take on the karma, and so do I. It's like the Robin Hood idea, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, because where do the rich get their money in the first place? Well, they robbed from the poor usually. The kings, queens, etc., they stole everything they have, and they are looked to exceptionally, but people don't see the whole history of it. This is where the individual takes on the adventure and risk to take on the situation. It really doesn't become karmic or taplining so much when it's providing something. That becomes different. When the person is going after something personally and wants to have it for themselves only, which is fine, that becomes its own nature. But when the individual steps up and does something, especially with the whole of life, then it's a whole different story. Signing that agreement in the experience, it's the old story of making a contract with the devil. Marjorie Klemp did this many years ago, and most people didn't see it in the early 80s when Harold took over. She made an agreement with Joni. That's why she stepped aside, and all a sudden Harold had a new wife, because she knew that Joni knew that she needed that position. Not to just be someone on the outside, but to have a real position as the puppet master controller behind the curtain with Harold, without Marjorie in the way. So a deal was made, and with that deal Marjorie didn't do well at all, especially when she passed. she was forgotten. There wasn't even a mention of her at all. Had she made the deal, she had quite a large following, and had she taken on the adventure to present something more real about what's going on, then she would have been okay. But she went with the deal, with the personal self. That becomes the difference. There's the intent there, and people do not have to be afraid to take on risk and circumstances. I would have signed the contract, taken the situation, made it into an adventure, and turned it around. Each person decides, and it's all okay, whatever you decide, but there's always a way to do it. Paul did that here too. He took a drink in Europe and took on poison. He purposely did it. The idea was that he took on karma. What he did was actually to take on the adventure, to figure it out, and the challenge to see what he could do with it. It doesn't mean it's going to be successful, or that people are going to listen, but you take on the adventure. I have things in the business world that I've taken on. I used to tell my friends and family members, and they didn't want to hear it. They were like, "What are you doing?" But I wanted to do this, and I get the backing of it too. I have for years, and it's been a heck of a process for me, and a real education, so I can step up to the next step and deal with the world itself, confront it, and then the solar system, galaxy, and all of creation. So I've taken this on to do this. So when you do it from that position, you're not getting the tap lines and the karma, because the guides are backing you when they see the intent, and that you are willing to walk into the fire and do something, because this is what they have done, and each individual needs to do that. they need to walk the razor's edge. That's the old idea, so that they can have that position for themselves, stand real, and this is where it becomes different from a personal self to a real position of taking on whatever it is right now, because there's only a window open right now for the moment, and that's it. It's like the ships going out to sea. They need a particular tide. They need an incoming tide and an outgoing tide, and they have to wait for that. Wait for a particular window. We have a particular window right here, and just like when Paul was here, there was a window there, then all of a sudden things got funny. Then that window was gone, but yet people think it's still there, because the carcass is still there, and they think the carcass is the reality. Well, it's not. Things have become so, and it's a new position, but things took time, and there was a waiting period, and others were given the opportunity. But of course, it was known that it was just going to be whatever, until things got to a certain point, like a cake in the oven. Things were ready, and it was 2001, and we're going to start a new position here. So there are windows of opportunity where people are thinking it will always be around. Well, the is the is, but there are so many factors in creation to get it ready, like all the parts to build your car. You have the idea of the car. You can get a car anywhere, but if you haven't got the parts, you haven't got a car. And so it takes a lot to get this vehicle for people to relate to be established and workable into the world as we are now. It's taken a lot for me to figure this out, to get to this point, and so when I leave and things become so, what's going to happen next. This is how life is now, right here now, and this is all it can be, and each decision that is made through free will, and what is presented, well, decisions are made, and things become so. Nothing is taken for granted, and this is very, very real. And so, sing the new you song, watch your dream visions, and let the whole of life and the real universal guides show you what is real now. New